Have you ever wondered what makes a man sure that he really wants to wife you? But wouldn't it be impossible to be sure that you look like wife material if you don't know exactly what he's testing you on in order to get that answer? Well, what if I told you I can make it easy for you to pass all of those tests as long as I slide you all of the answers? Which is exactly why on today's show we're going to be discussing how to pass every wife test so men fall in love with you. That way, you know exactly how to present yourself so you can receive the queen and wife treatment that you've always wanted. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively participating. How are all of you beautiful, beautiful people doing in the show today? Who we got up in the chat here? Oh, what is going on with my TikTok chat? All right, welcome all you beautiful people. I see we got Trina here in the TikTok chat. We have Adorable here. We have Nids here, Melanie here. We have Angie here, Erica here. Go Plants is here. The most generous Go Plants is here. We have Samaya here, Bree here, Nelly here, Coco here. Who we got over in the YouTube chat? I see Justice is here. Real Viva is here, or Vivia? Okay, Vivia is here, Kayla is here, Clarissa is here, LP Baby is here, Mary Kim is here, some of our channel members I see here. I see CC, one of our channel members, Tracy Niles, who's always here on time, one of our amazing channel members. Did I shout out all the time? I want to make sure I get to all the channel members. I love you if you're a channel member, but I didn't shout you out. Welcome all you beautiful people in the chat. Let's get this party started today, okay? Very comprehensive show we're going to have, because there's a lot of different tests that men will use to determine what category to put you in. So I want to make sure we kind of cover all of our bases here in terms of what those tests will look like and how you can pass them to make sure you present yourself the right way, all right? So first things first, let's get started with this test. This is a tricky one, all right? And I don't want you to fall for this. Okay, this test can really, really trip you up, all right? So let's get started here. And I'm gonna show you a visual so that you can understand how this test works and the issues that might arise here, okay? So we're putting a W here because all of these are women. Okay, so we'll do like that, and they're all women. We'll put other. And then we have you here. So here's the thing, okay? This can be a very tricky situation. Our first point is that you are not like the other women. See, one of the tests that men will use is they'll try to get an understanding if you're really not like the other women, or if this is just talk for you, something that you like to say when you come out on your dates to seem like someone who has a lot of high value, except when it comes down to it, you will act exactly the same as all the other women. Let me put this in the middle because this is going to bother me, okay? Let me write it properly. Other women. So what do I actually mean when I say not like other women? One of the common things that you might have said, and you can tell me in the chat if you've ever said this when you're on a date, right? You're going to say things like, oh, well, we're not going to sleep together. We'll say, I'll just put it simply, no sex first night. Because you don't want to present yourself as trashy, as sleazy, right? I'm not trashy. I'm not trashy, I'm not sleazy, I'm not like any of those other girls. You'll even say something like, I have class, right? Which all of those things are good. And I want that to be you, but here's the problem. And this is a real problem. See, what will happen is as time goes on in this date, see, you started off this date like, you know, I guess we can say a drill sergeant coming to this date with your rules, your boundaries, your expectations, what you're not going to do, what you're okay with doing, and what works for you and what doesn't, right? That sounded great at the beginning, but you want to know what is a learned behavior for men? They learn over the course of time that if they just ignore that chat that you're going to give them, that speech you're going to give them at the beginning, and they focus on setting the right vibe, a lot of times they'll come to the realization after a while that even though you said you weren't, you're just like all the other women. And what do all the other women do in this case? They sleep with men on the very first date. All right, I should even say date instead of night, so you guys aren't confused. And this is a very important thing to understand in your dating life, right? You don't want to make the mistake of talking up a big game, especially as it relates to you not being like the other women who are trashy, sleazy, that will sleep with him on this very first date, and then end up doing anything with him on that very first date. And let me let you in on a little bit of a secret, because I know some of you don't realize this when we're talking about not being like the other girl. See, you might even come on this very first date and you might talk about how you're not like any of these other women and how you're not going to do this and you're not going to sleep with him because that's just not what you do. But you end up still doing things with him at his place or at your place later on. It just doesn't end up in the total, him actually inserting himself inside of you and jackrabbing himself inside of you, okay, right? So you guys don't actually sleep together, but you still end up doing things, whether you put your mouth on things, you put your feet on things, you use your hands, he uses his hands, and we end up in the same place eventually, even though it's not actually, pineapples and you guys actually having sex, it's still the same idea where you're presenting yourself as saying, I'm so different from everyone else that you're going to meet. I'm not like any of these other women. Don't put me in that category. Don't think of me that way. I'm different. Because remember, you're trying to stand out and you're trying to present yourself as a wife. But when you go back on that because of the vibes, okay, this is the problem. Some of you love vibes so much that when you get to a place with a guy where you feel there are a lot of vibes, you throw everything out the window that you are working towards in terms of presenting yourself the right way that he can take you seriously as a wife, okay? And this is an issue. We want to make sure when you go out on this first date, in order to pass this very first wife test, that you're truly not like the other girls. You must take a hard stance against doing anything sexual with him, okay? The worst thing you can do if you want to be taken seriously as a wife is do this on the very first date or the very first couple of dates where now you're presenting yourself as exactly like all these other women. Because trust you me, I'm telling you this as a guy. All these other women in this category, they also come on that very first date talking up a big game. So don't think that you're the first one who talks up a big game about how you're not going to do this and you're not going to do that. It's not a flex to sleep with him on the first night and then wake up the next day and say, oh, the vibes were just so good, that's why I did it. Or I never do this. This was only the first time. I guarantee you, as soon as you start talking with that rhetoric, you're gonna get clustered in with all these other girls and he's not gonna take you very seriously. He might pretend to take you seriously, but I promise you it's gonna be very difficult for him to actually take you seriously after that, okay? Let's hop into our second point. I hope that makes sense to you guys so far. We all on the same page? Alrighty. So that is already a dangerous one. Now we're going to talk about one that is a little bit related, slightly related in a slightly different way, okay? Now, this is one that I also need to warn you about, because it'll happen very quickly, okay? So let's draw you out a nice road here, because this is the best way to illustrate this. Okay, so when we draw out this road here, the reason I'm drawing this out is because for you, you're a big blob here. For you, you have a lot of choices to make. especially when we first start in this dating and talking stage with this guy. We want to make sure that the choices you make present you the way that you want to be presented, which is as a wife that he must take seriously and treat seriously. But here's the thing that will happen a lot of times, right? Is by the time you start having a really good vibe with him and things are going really well, you will now have a choice here, which is to end the date or go back to his place, right? And when I say go back to his place, it's just some sort of, it can even be anything related to that, whether it be going back to his place, going back to your apartment or your place, if you're more comfortable there, going back to a hotel, whatever the case may be, the nightcap, we'll just call it like that. This is the thing, and this is the choice that you're going to make that's going to be pivotal in the way that you present yourself, and it's honestly one of the tests that men are going to use. At the very beginning, this choice, especially when you come on this first date with a planned course of action, what does that mean? That first date that you go on is only supposed to last about 2 hours, right? You're not supposed to be going on these marathon dates. We've talked about that in previous shows, okay? You don't go on 8-9 hour dates with men, not even 4 or 5 hour dates. When you're starting off at the beginning, you start off slow and you go on 2 hour dates maximum with men, so that you can get to know them a little bit better, but they can continue to crave you and desire you and ask you out on more dates. But here's the problem. You come to that date with an understanding of what the itinerary is. We'll say it like that, meaning what the expectation of how long you'll be there, how long it'll take you to get there, and when you're gonna go back home. But when you get on this date, influence can be a very dangerous thing. Men are also gauging how easy it is to influence you to do something that you didn't originally intend to do, okay? Because when you get to this crossroads here and it's time to make a choice to say, am I gonna stick to the itinerary and my plan for the date that it was supposed to be 2 hours? Or is his vibe, the wine, the ambiance, the food, the everything that's going on in between us gonna convince me to go against what my standard or expectation was for this date and say, you know what, now that I'm feeling the vibe, forget what I said about the 2 hour date. Me and you, we can go back to your place. You can come back to my apartment. We can just chill. I'll let it go a little bit. I'll relax a little bit because clearly you're a cool guy, you're a nice guy, and you're not like any of the other guys. When you start acting and saying that, the guys start rubbing their hands like Birdman. They're like, oh yeah, I got her. Only took me a couple of hours to take her from being a drill sergeant. And now all of a sudden she's softening up. She's feeling the vibe and all the stuff she was talking about. I'm so different. You can't treat me a certain way. I have a certain that's all out the window. Once we get back to my place, I'll give her the backwash vodka that's left over in my place from the last time we pre-gamed, and I'll be in there in no time, okay? That's what he's thinking in his mind, but it's not good for you and your presentation. Similar to talking about I'm not like the other girls when we're talking about you sleeping with him or not sleeping with him. In this scenario, right, it's about influence. How easily are you influenced, especially at the beginning? It's so important to understand there's a way to say no and turn down men in a feminine way. Doesn't have to mean you come on the date and you tell him, this is gonna be exactly 2 hours, I'm starting my timer now, and when the timer goes off, I'm standing up, running away, and driving my car off, right? But it's understanding no matter how good the vibe is, no matter how much I'm enjoying this, no matter how deep the connection feels when we're having conversation, I'm still not going to go back on my word that I said this date is gonna last 2 hours. So once 2 hours comes by, I don't care what we're talking about, I don't care what's going on, I'm gonna let him know that I've gotta be home, and he's gonna beg me, he's gonna say, please stay, I want you to stay, I want you to be here, we're having such a good vibe, just finish your last glass of wine, let's order another appetizer, let's order dessert. You still go home. Because I promise you, only good things can happen when you make this choice to end the date and you don't allow him to influence you to do something different than what you intended to do from the very beginning. Because make no mistake about it, you're showing him a lot by making that choice, okay? And the reason I say only good things can come from that is because when you end that date early, especially if you end that date early and he wants to see you more or spend more time with you, what do you think you're going to go home, what he's going to go home with the feeling of? He's going to go home with the feeling of, damn, I want to see more of her. I want to speak to her more. I want to get to know her more. That didn't feel like enough. And subsequently, he has more of a desire to ask you out on another date in very rapid succession. And he doesn't want to wait a lot of time to ask you out on the next date because he already feels dissatisfied with the amount of time he's gotten to spend with you. But that's good. This is why I say only good things can happen when you don't allow men to influence you one way or another, right? When you come here in the Players Club, you learn all of these different strategies. You learn how you're going to go about things. You learn what you need to do. Right? You stick to that plan no matter what. You don't change it up for any reason whatsoever. You don't adjust your strategy for any reason whatsoever. And you damn sure don't make the choice to go back to his place instead of ending the date when you know you should be ending the date. Okay? Does that make sense? Right? Crystal S says the fly rubbing his hands ready to rot anything it touches. Don't let him. It's very true. You got to make sure you look out for yourself. Don't let him influence you on what you should do here, okay? Gotta make sure we stick to the plan. All right, let's hop into our third point, okay? Now, this is one that I know a lot of you will struggle with, and this is why we have to talk about it. Okay, boundaries. Now, specifically, we're going to be referring to the type of boundaries that must be set when you start off a first date with a guy, right? So we're going to give a little bit of an example here. Okay, so all right. So in this example, we're going to use a little bit of a timeline, all right? And for this timeline, what we're going to be determining or we're going to be describing is an example of how you must go about setting boundaries and enforcing boundaries when you want to be seen as a wife and when you want to pass this boundary test. Because make no mistake about it, men will test your ability to first set boundaries and also enforce them. Let me be I'm going to say it again. Men will test your ability to set boundaries and also enforce them. Now, when you first start dating a guy, what you're going to realize is not all the time when you first start dating him are you going to notice him really try you really hard. What I mean by that is he might not cross a major boundary in a way that's super disrespectful that would cause you to break up with him. He might just cross a small boundary, but even when he crosses that smaller boundary, you got to set the precedent that when my boundaries are crossed, I do not compromise, I am not forgiving, I make sure to punish you for crossing my boundary, and you will feel the coldness from me when you cross my boundary. So what does that look like, okay? Let's imagine here that you have this rule here that let's switch these days around because it'll make more sense to you visually when I switch them around here. So we're gonna go at it like this. So what we're doing here is we're gonna do a countdown. This is gonna be a countdown. We're going to say days until date, right? So let's imagine in this scenario for this timeline, these are the days counting down until the date that you guys are going to go on, right? So on day 3, let's say he asks you. Day 3 is the ask. That's when he asks you out, hey, in 3 days, can we go out to this sushi restaurant? I love it. It's my favorite Japanese sushi restaurant. I would love to go with you and take you out there and experience that with you. You're like, sure, I have a time and space on this day coming up in 3 days. We can go out at 6 p.m. like you suggested, and I'll be good with that. And then the next day comes, and he has said nothing, right? Doesn't text you, doesn't call you, doesn't say anything to you the entire day. You're like, okay, guess he's been busy, had work, or whatever it was that he was doing. And then the next day, right, now we're talking about 24 hours before, he still hasn't messaged you from 2 days ago, and 24 hours before this date, he's still no word. Okay? When I say no word, I mean no messages, no check-ins, no reminder of, hey, you on for the date tomorrow? We're still good for the date tomorrow? Nothing. And let's say, for the sake of example, this is something that you've had a discussion with him is not cool with you, that you don't appreciate. Because when you're planning and scheduling for your week, even though you schedule something in your week to plan this date or whatever it is that you guys are going to, you like and feel the most comfortable when he can confirm with you, especially when we're getting into 24 hours before, that we're still on for the date, we still have the same understanding, and the schedule is still the same, right? Let's say you've had that conversation with him previously about the fact that that's something that you want. Now, when it comes to setting boundaries, this is where the test happens. Because now, inadvertently, right, he's not necessarily doing it purposely, but this is a time where he's going to test to see, what are you going to do in your response to him crossing a boundary that you've already set, right? This is where it gets very, very sticky, because some of you will be inclined to say, well, I really like this guy, and I really want this relationship to work out with him. And I don't mind the fact that even though it makes me more comfortable if he were to confirm with me at least 24 hours before, even though he hasn't said anything, I'll still get ready, and hopefully he'll send me a message a couple of hours before and I'll already be ready, even though it makes me a little bit uneasy. This is a problem though, because when you set the boundary at the beginning and you told him you didn't appreciate that, there needs to be a consequence for him crossing the boundary. Even if you're like, but Tomisin, I don't want to be a drama queen. I don't want to be difficult. He asked me out on a date. He set the time and the place and the everything. Why do I have to be such a drill sergeant all the time? This is the thing. You need to show men that when you set a boundary, you will enforce it even if it's small. And especially when it's small at the beginning, because that's the perfect way to show him if he crossed a bigger boundary, the punishment would just be on a larger scale. Okay, so what do I mean by that? In this scenario where he gives you no word 2 days before, no word 24 hours before, and he doesn't send you a text until an hour before you guys were supposed to meet at that sushi restaurant, and he's like, hey, are you ready to go? Right? I'm about to be there. I'm about to leave in a couple of minutes. Then you text him back and say, I'm not going anymore. And he's going to say, wait, what? Why aren't you going anymore? What's the problem? I'm about to get ready. I'm about to be over at your place in just a little bit. And then you can let him know, look, I talked to you about confirming with me at the very least 24 hours before. There was no check-in. I heard nothing from you. And I'm not going to plan and get ready for a date when I can't even confirm that it's still happening. Simple as that. This might feel painful to some of you who find it difficult to set boundaries, but it's a very, very important lesson to teach men. Because part of this test is to see if you're actually gonna follow through with the punishment. And the follow through with the punishment and the enforcing of the boundary is the only thing that will stick into his mind. Oh, when she actually says something is a boundary, she's actually going to enforce it if I cross it. I know it sounds very strange because you're thinking, well, why doesn't he care so much that he would just follow the instructions the first time and not do what I said I didn't appreciate? Unfortunately, I don't make the rules, but I can explain them to you. And in this scenario, when it comes to men, they only truly understand what you really mean when they feel it. Because when he gets all ready and dresses himself up and gets his nice fit and puts his cologne on, his Dior Savage, your man probably wears Dior Savage, right? He comes out and he goes to this date and he's driving and he sees you're actually not coming to the date anymore. And the disappointment he feels in getting ready and spending all that time planning and scheduling just so he can go out on this date knowing that he's not going anymore, the disappointment he feels will actually be able to put into his memory that next time when he's planning a date, he'll make sure to confirm. Okay? I know it feels like you're training a toddler here or you're training a dog. That's because you are, okay? And it's very important to show him that you mean business. Because if you don't, you will not be passing the test of a wife, because a wife sets boundaries, a good one does, and one with self-respect sets boundaries and knows to enforce them, regardless of how she feels about that guy, okay? Let's hop into our fourth point. Very, very important. All righty. So we talked about boundaries. Now let's discuss number, is this 4? Number 4. Okay. Now I'm going to give you guys a little bit, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a visual so that we can all be on the same page about how this works here. So it's going to sound kind of weird, okay? But I want you to stay with me, okay? Stay with me here. And I promise you it'll make sense in the end, all right? So here we have a snack machine, okay? And let's say this snack machine, let me write this better. I don't like how this is written. Okay, there. Now, let's imagine this snack machine here, even though this is going to sound like a little bit of a weird visual. Let's say this snack machine takes, $5, okay, right, for each snack. Right? And you're here with your big ass smile, and we'll draw you a little booty here. You got a little booty, all right? All right, so you're at the snack machine, and you're seeing this snack machine here that has a lot of nice, amazing snacks, and they're $5 each. Quite an expensive snack machine, but who cares, right? You're in a nice, rich part of town, all right? You like rich men and rich vibes. Now, when you're getting a snack from this snack machine and you input a $5 bill, you're like, damn, okay, $5 for a snack, but I'm pretty hungry. I don't just want one snack, I want 2 snacks, okay? And let's say you put in a $5 bill for the first snack that you get, and out comes, one snack for $5, okay? And you get 1 snack. But then, let's say for the sake of example, you're like, damn, I only have, a couple of 1s on me. Let me see how many I have. And you put 4 1s into the machine. And for some reason, after you put 4 1s in the machine, out comes another snack. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought all the snacks in here were $5. I just put in 4, I swear. Then you're like, okay, I see I still got some extra change in here. Maybe let's just see how many I have to put in to get a snack out. And then you put in a $1 bill. And out comes another snack. And you're like, wait a second. Every time I put in money, it gives me a snack no matter what price I put in the machine. And then you're like, wait a second. I wonder. And you take out your wallet again or your purse and you grab a penny, a single penny, and you put it in the machine. Oops, I put 0.01. No, that would be, right? You get my point. 1 penny. Penny. And out comes 1 snack again, right? When you put in the 1 penny. Now, what am I getting at here? See, when you realize that it only takes any amount of money to put into your vending snack machine here and get out the same snack that you were wanting from the beginning, eventually you get to a point where you say, why would I continue putting in $5 when I can just put in 1 penny and get out the same snack? So it's the same thing with men and their relationship with you, right? Standards are so important because standards set an expectation for what you expect men to do for you in order to get access from you, I should say. And that standard and those expectations will show a man whether you are a woman who has self-respect and value or whether you're a woman without self-respect and without value. Why does it do that? Because they understand that only women who actually have value and recognize their own value will have a standard so high and be so strict on that standard that they don't allow anything to come below that threshold, because they understand that if one man is not willing to meet that threshold, then that definitely means one of their plenty of other options will desire to meet that threshold or exceed it, and they will be the one to be with her or have access to her. And so because there's so much competition for her, she has no intention of lowering her standard because she doesn't need to. If one man can't meet it, then another man will. And while you don't need to have 1,000 different options or 1,000 different men DMing you in order to present yourself this way and to have the same effect, right? It's very important that you know how to set standards and keep them there, right? And you also know how to interact with men and approach men if they're not meeting that standard. And when I say that, what I mean by that is you know how to properly withdraw from men who are not meeting your standards, right? So similar to boundaries, except in this way, it's not necessarily something he's doing that's disrespectful. It's just something where he's not meeting your level. So what does a standard, okay, right, look like when someone is, let's say, a standard of yours that you have, and an expectation of what a man will do for you or not do for you in a relationship, and if he's not meeting that, how you respond. What does that look like in an example? An example of that would be, let's say a guy is asking you out on a first date. This is the first time you guys are supposed to be meeting each other in person. And the first time he's basically asking you to hang out and spend time with you, he's saying, hey, so you want to come to my place and we can watch that series that we were talking about on Netflix? We can watch Squid Game season 2 together. I know you love Squid Game. And that is his version of asking you to hang out for the very first time. You've never met him in person, and he wants to watch Squid Game with you at his place. And your response has to be no. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to scream and yell. You don't have to tell him, I expect you to do this and I expect you to do that. I expect you to. No, you just tell him, no thanks. Okay? You don't have to add anything extra. No thanks. And leave it at that. And unless he comes up with a better idea than to ask you to come over and watch Squid Game 2, you're going to continue to say, no thanks. Okay? Doesn't have to be mean. Doesn't have to be rude. You just say, no thanks. And if he can't think to himself, maybe she's saying no thanks because I'm asking her for a low quality hangout and putting in very little investment, right? If he can't put that together and realize he needs to fix up and change his approach to meet your standard, then he's not even the type of man that you're looking for anyways. Because you shouldn't have to beg a guy to meet your standard. And you also shouldn't even want to beg a guy to meet your standard, because the way you're supposed to be carrying yourself is that any man that you come across will be gladly happy to meet your standards. So if this guy can't, then another guy will. I know it feels a little bit toxic to walk around with that level of confidence and arrogance, I guess you could say. But at the same time, that's actually what men find attractive in the woman that they take seriously. Because when you have standards, it communicates that you also have value. Because you couldn't have standards if you didn't have value. And vice versa, when you communicate to men that you don't have standards, or you're willing to throw away your standards to be with them or spend time with them, it communicates to them that you don't have value, which is why I want you to say no to everything he could possibly offer you that does not meet explicitly what your standards are. Okay? Let's hop into our point number 5. Okay? We got a lot of points today. Got a lot to cover. Okay? I told you, we're going to go through every test, everyone. All right. So on point number 5 here, oh, I'm so glad we're talking about this. Thank the Lord. All right. Yes. I'm so glad we're talking about this. All right. Please. Oh boy. I don't ever want you to do this. Okay? Please don't be this type of woman. I'm going to draw 2 types of women here. And we're going to discuss this because I don't want you doing this. I really don't want you doing this. Okay? Very important. Okay. And make no mistake, this is a wife test. Do not turn into a crash out. Some of you might not understand what I mean by the terminology of crash out. I'll explain this to you, right? So we have a crash out here. What exactly does a crash out do? A crash out is going to scream, yell, curse, spam call, / text, right? Beg for attention. And overall, go crazy. The bad version. Now, what does it really mean when I describe all of those things? The reason I call it crashing out, right? Or the reason it's called crashing out, I didn't make up the terminology, but the reason it's called crashing out is because you're so emotionally unstable and this man matters so much to you that any inconvenience as it relates to him and this relationship will throw you so far out of whack that you end up going insane. You're like a crazy person. You chase him around for things, you spam call him, you check up on his location 24/7, you question him like the FBI about everything that he's doing, you watch him like a hawk, you watch each and every one of his stories, and you look at every individual pixel, and then you call him out. Stop. Stop it. I'm not saying don't peep things. I'm not saying don't be aware of what's going on. But your response is very, very important, okay? When you crash out like this, you're actually showing a lot of emotional immaturity, number one. And you're showing men that you can't actually moderate. And what's the word I'm looking for? You can't properly, I guess the word is moderate, right? Your emotions. Right? There's nothing wrong with feeling things. There's nothing wrong with being upset. But your response to being upset will tell him a lot about your level of emotional maturity. Also, you'll get relegated when you become a crash out to a source of entertainment. What do I mean by that? Understand and make no mistake about it. When you yell and scream and curse men out and spam call them, spam text men, regulate your emotions. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Cans. When you spam call and text men, and you go crazy on them like this, you get relegated to entertainment because men realize it's an ego boost when you do that to them. Because you want to know what they do, and then I'll tell you a little secret, maybe you didn't know this. But when you crash out on men, and especially if he's around his boys, he actually shows them the fact that you're crashing out on him. And he likes to use that as a way to make everyone laugh and also show that he really put it down on you, because only girls who got that D put down on them would crash out like this. And that's how men actually receive that type of energy. So then he's like, oh, guys, look, she crashing out again. She called him. This is the 15th time she called him. He'll put his phone on speaker, right, in the car so all of them can hear you cursing him out, going crazy. And you might think you're like, why would guys do that? That's really stupid. Why would they do that? Because it's a source of entertainment and it's an ego boost for them. You don't understand. Men aren't receiving that how you think they're receiving that, right? It's actually pretty funny because they know that the only type of girls that will go crazy like that are girls that have been dickmatized, as we like to say, okay? Which just means mesmerized by the pee-pee, right? And so when men think like that, and they receive this type of attention, this type of crash out attention that way, you don't realize you're actually doing a good thing for his ego, but you're not doing a good thing for yourself because you're showing him how little you're able to regulate your emotions, okay? And you're showing him how if he were to be in a relationship with you, it would be like this all the time, where anything he does, he'll be watched like a hawk, and your response will be to spam him, curse him out, scream and yell, and be a very toxic person. Make no mistake about it. Men find that entertaining, yes. Do they want to be in a long-term serious relationship with that? No. And the only type of men that would even possibly want to be in a relationship like that are men who are so emotionally damaged themselves that they get joy out of being in a toxic relationship because they have nothing else to put their time and energy into. Mature, emotionally mature, stable men do not find this behavior cute, and do not think to themselves, hey, I want to wife this girl. They might use you because you're so emotionally unstable. They might take advantage of you because you're so emotionally unstable, but they know to themselves, they definitely ain't gonna be dealing with you for real, okay? So it's very important. It's not about not feeling your emotions. It's about understanding how to do it like this, okay? So we're gonna call this, right? We called this the crash out. Now let's describe this as the wife. Because the wife is also able to peep things. But how does the wife respond, right? The wife, if, let's say, she sees something that she doesn't like, she responds with withdrawal, right? She lets him come to her. Now, what do I mean by lets him come to her? What does that actually mean in terms of like how you go about things? When you withdraw as a wife, see, you can be upset in a feminine way. What I mean by that is when you're upset and you feel that anger, you feel that sadness, it's still okay to express that and it's okay to talk about that with your friends. But what you show him, what I want you to show him is withdrawal. Because men understand that coldness and that distance emotionally from you to be like, oh, something has happened and this is bad. I must have done something really bad. They're also pretty intelligent beings. So when they do something bad, they know they've done something bad. And when you withdraw, it enforces the idea to them that they've done something bad. So now when you withdraw, he's more inclined, because he's supposed to be your man and your happiness is supposed to be important to him, he's more inclined to say, hey, what's wrong? What's bothering you? Right? Are you okay? Did I do something? Did I say something? Then you respond with communication of your feelings, right? But it's very important in your communication, you understand how to address without, I'll just say going crazy, okay? Right? And this is a learned skill, I'll be honest with you. It's not something you're gonna gain overnight, especially if you find it difficult to calm yourself down when you're really, really upset. For some of you, you're gonna have to build up your strategy in order to be able to address men when you're upset with them in a way that actually helps you find solutions and addresses your problems rather than creating more of an issue, okay? And I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings or be mean to you, but this is such an important part of men also seeing whether or not you're able to properly resolve conflict. And make no mistake about it, whether a man is healthy or whether he's unhealthy, you will still have conflict with that individual. It's just inevitable as two individuals. Now, it's important that he's able to see your way of resolving conflict is actually sustainable. So what I mean by that is a crash out will, by the time you resolve conflict, the crash out has thrown your computer out the window, the crash out has burned your clothes, the crash out has looked through your laptop and messaged a whole bunch of girls, the crash out called your mom, had the police called, broke your door, broke a window. That's unsustainable. And if conflict only gets resolved after all of those things get broken and torn apart in the relationship, that's not a sustainable way to resolve conflict. Now, vice versa, in response to issues or conflict, and the way that the wife resolves it by understanding how to regulate her emotions, still be upset, still be angry, nothing wrong with having the emotion, but understanding how to go about it in a way that actually can help resolve the situation and actually help address whatever your problem is so important to showing men that you are a healthy partner capable of being in a healthy, sustainable relationship, okay? And I know some of you are thinking, well, the men I date aren't even mature anyway, so why should I bother being mature? This is about passing the wife test for whoever you date. That way, when you finally do meet a mature, amazing, emotionally stable, and forward direction moving man, you can make sure that you tick off all his boxes because you're not so, built up from all the toxic relationships that you've had, that you carry a lot of it into your new one with a healthy man, right? Don't be doing this crash out energy stuff, all right? That's for the low vibrational, low frequency people, right? Learn how to address your problems. You can still have problems, nothing wrong with having problems, but learn how to address your problems and issues in a way that actually helps resolve those problems or issues where people can understand how you feel, understand what you want and understand what your expectations are when you finally do communicate to men. Very important, okay? Let's hop into point number 6. I told you, we got a lot to cover, okay? Very, very comprehensive show today. Very, very comprehensive. A lot of erasing on my part. A lot of work. It's like a workout. All right. Point number 6 here. So we have what we call in point number 6 overinvestment. Okay, now let's describe how overinvestment works. Okay, I'm not drawing a perfect calendar. Okay, this ain't art class, right? But you get my drift. All right, so in this calendar here that we're going to draw, even though it's not properly perfect, let's just imagine here how this calendar would work. In this calendar here, oops, I spelled that wrong before the spell police come get me. All right, in this calendar here, let's imagine that you guys are supposed to go on a date on this day, right? So let's just say this is a Wednesday and this is a date day, right? And let's say for the rest of your week, you have this day that you're doing something, this day that you're doing something, this day, and every other day of the week, you essentially have something planned for that week, okay? Or something going on at a time where it makes it impossible for you guys to go out on a date. This is the day that you guys are supposed to plan to go out on this date. Now, let's say the Tuesday comes here, and he reaches out to you and he says, by the way, for our date on Wednesday, I'm gonna need to cancel because I have an emergency thing that I have to go to. It's a family thing and I can't miss it. And so I'm not going to be able to go out on this date on Wednesday. But could you maybe, since you work shift work, and you know my job's a full-time job, I can't really do anything about that. But since you work shift work, you're a nurse, right? Could you possibly, cancel your shift on the Thursday so that we can go out on this day instead? This is where I want you to make sure that you, did I spell calendar wrong? Oh, chatty. Come on. Where's the spell police? Where's the spell police? Come on. Anyways, so it's very important that you make sure to handle this properly. Because you don't want to make the mistake of overinvesting yourself, especially too early. What does that look like in this scenario? It looks like canceling your shift where you're supposed to make money so that you can spend time with this guy. Okay? You should not be doing that for any reason whatsoever, especially at the very beginning of your dating stage with a guy. Okay? If he can't see you because he has to cancel the date on this day, that doesn't magically mean you're going to do something drastic to free up your schedule the next couple of days. No. That means if the next Tuesday is the only day you guys can go out on a date because your schedule is booked for the next week, then so be it. Or if it's going to be another 2 weeks before you guys can go out on another date because you got so much planned and it's just not going to work out, then so be it. You do not change or adjust yourself for the man that you just started dating. And I know it sounds very toxic for me to say that, but you have to show men, look, I'm free the days that I'm free. I have my things that I'm doing and I have my places that I have to be outside of that. I'm not just dating you. You're not just my entire world. If you can't make it or you have to cancel or whatever the case may be, I'm not holding it against you. However, I'm not going to overextend myself, change my schedule, cancel this, cancel that, cancel all the things that I wanted to do just because you can't make it to a date. And if you can't make it to a date or something comes up, that's perfectly fine. But then we will get to the next time I'm actually free before we can go out on this next date, okay? And I'm giving you that example because that's an example of how easy it can become to overinvest yourself in guys, especially very early on. Because you have a desire for him to like you and for this relationship to work out, that you think to yourself, well, I need to make sure I do everything in my power for us to be able to see each other, for us to be able to spend time with each other, and for us to be able to go out on more dates. But that's actually the exact opposite of what you need to be doing, right? You need to be free when you are free and let him figure out how he's going to adjust himself to be a part of your life and to be a part of your schedule. If he can't do that or he can't plan to do that, because here's the thing, and this is what I want you to understand about dating and dating men specifically. See, men it's possible for them to be a part of your life, even if you're busy and they're busy. It just takes an extra amount of planning and scheduling. So what that means is if a guy really wants to be a part of your life and in your life, and even if his schedule is busy and yours is busy as well, he'll figure out how to do that by planning so far ahead of time that you guys are both free, or at least more flexible, that you can actually insert a time to spend time together. And he'll always be about the business of making sure that he plans ahead enough with you that you guys can spend time with each other, instead of doing things like saying, hey, you want to go out on a date tomorrow? You want to go out on a date in 5 hours? You want to meet up here right now, right? And he'll learn that in order to get time with you, that he has to work for it. And part of working for it is scheduling for it and planning for it. Not just asking you to hang out day of, or asking you to hang out at 4 a.m. after he finishes at the club. Okay? Don't make that mistake of overly investing yourself very quickly on in the relationship, that you end up in a very bad place because you show yourself off to be someone with little to no value. Because when you overinvest yourself that way, you're showing him that you really, really, really need this to work. It's almost like your last little option here, right? Which leads me perfectly into our number 2 point, or not number 2, number 7 point. I said number 2. I silly. Okay. And our number 7 point will make the most sense in a visual. Our number 7 point is going to work like this. When you think of a relationship, you know how people always say, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? They always say that, right? So let's imagine this is the table, right? And you got the man here, and you got you here. So when we're talking about what do each of you bring to the table, it's very important to understand how to present yourself in a way that doesn't give off a desperate type of energy. When we're talking about what you bring to the table, let's say you're nurturing, your femininity, right? How you spell that? Like that? Feminine? Feminine? All right. Your, let's just say, support. And we can say you're dumpy. All right. All these different things that you bring to the table. So for him as well, he should be bringing things like money, protect, right? Obviously provide. Wow. Okay. So here's the thing though, right? These are just some of the things that you guys are bringing to the table as individuals, right? As a man and a woman coming together. Now, this is the problem that some of you will face in your relationships. You will come across as so desperate that instead of requiring a man to bring anything to the table, right? His masculinity, his ability to protect, provide, his desire to help you with your problems and do things for you. Instead, all you will desire is for a man to love you. And you might not realize this, but this will come across and be very obvious to men. If you're one of these women, that all you need from a man is for him to love you and care about you and show you some attention, that you don't bother caring about any other quality in a man or in this relationship other than his ability to love you and show you some attention. You might think to yourself, well, Thompson, I'm just a low maintenance type of woman. I don't require all this other stuff or extravagant gifts or money like all these other women. I'm not saying that you need to require that, but it's very important that your happiness is also factored in. So if there are certain things that you really want in a guy, in a husband, in a partner, that are important to you, like maybe how often he communicates with you, maybe his attachment style, maybe how he resolves conflict with you, how he speaks to you. Maybe there's a certain way you like to be spoken to when you're in a fight, when you're in an argument, or there's a certain way you like to be dealt with overall. Maybe there's a certain way you like intimacy. Maybe you have a lot of kinks and you like to be thrown against the wall, or you like to be chokeslammed. Whatever the case may be, right? It's very important that you also factor in what are my preferences, what are the things that I like, what are the things that are important to me, what are the things that I need in a partner. And that should be also the things that you're looking for a man to bring to the table. The thing about it is, if you come across very desperate, you won't have anything that you need a man to bring to the table. So you won't have any standards and you won't have any expectation. That will bleed through your pores, or I should say that will like ooze through your pores. Because that'll come across in the way that you talk about yourself, you talk about relationships, and you talk about your needs as well. Because make no mistake about it, as the relationship is going on, you are going to discuss your needs. You are going to discuss your preferences. You are going to communicate in your communication style, and you guys are going to go back and forth on the way that you approach relationships. Guys will get a sense of how you approach a relationship and what your expectation of a man is in a relationship after spending time with you. And once they spend enough time with you and they realize that you're so desperate that all you need and all you care about is for a man, any man, literally, if a homeless man could love you and show you some care, that's all you need. That's not good. That's not good. That doesn't communicate your value. That doesn't communicate that you're someone who has a lot of options. That communicates the entire opposite, that you're someone with no options, with no value, that everyone overlooks, and you're so desperate that you're willing to take in anyone that will show you any type of love. It's just very icky. It's very nasty. It pushes and repels men away from you. And as men are becoming pushed and repelled away from you, you'll become more and more desperate, and you'll become more and more needy for men to show you any sort of love and affection. So it's a vicious snowball effect. Okay? I don't want that for you. Let's hop into point number 8. All right? Told you we was going to cover everything. Now, in point number 8, this is so important. Oh my God. I don't know. I hate this so much. Okay. Please don't ever do this. It's one of the worst things you can do if you're trying to paint yourself as a wife. Don't do this. So we're going to have the man here. He's got a huge head. This is you. Okay. Wow, you have a huge head too. Now, we're going to draw something here, and it'll make sense when I explain it. Okay. I want you to understand something. Dealing with bums is not a flex. Do not ever make the mistake of showing men or making them feel like you deal with bums. I'm talking about the fact that you would date bums, that bums would have access to you, that bums can get you to answer your DMs, that bums could even dream of being able to touch you, okay? Now, I know for some of you, you've made the mistake of actually dating and being in a relationship with a bum. But the way I want you to paint that picture is that these bums do not have access to me, okay, right? You do not want to make the mistake of making it seem like bums still have access to you. Now, what do I mean when I say bums having access to you? When I'm describing bums, I mean men who are low quality, right? Who have nothing to offer, and who would be very low on the totem pole in terms of men. So what does a bum actually look like? A man with no money, he's broke, no job, no ambition, no career goals, no success in life, plays video games, soy boy, shy, can't do anything, not courageous, not bold, right? Ugly, disgusting, no, just nothing going for him. Dusty, so Coco said in the chat, right? Nothing going for him as a man. Very unsuccessful in every aspect of his life, okay? Still getting his mom to wash his underwear, right? Type of vibes. When men see that you allow those type of men to have access to you still, even after you've identified they're a bum, that is a very, very, very horrible look for you. Very horrible. Very horrible. Because what it'll show him, and this is why I drew him here, right? He's observing that. He's observing this and saying, I'm way better. And when he's observing that and thinking to himself, I'm way better, and he's seeing how all these bums get access to you, he automatically assumes if you allow bums to get access to you, and I'm not a bum, I'm so much better than all these bum men that get access to you, why am I taking you seriously? Why am I someone who has value? I'm attractive. I have money. I, am able to do things. I'm able to protect and provide. I'm handsome. I'm good looking. All the stuff that these men are not. And I'm with you. Why am I treating you the same way that those men are treating you? Because if I'm better than these men, I should treat you worse than those men treat you. So if I'm going to deal with you, then I should deal with you from a standpoint of just making you my side girl, or just making you someone that I smash on the side, whatever the case may be, or we're friends with benefits. Because he's thinking, I'm way better than these bums. I can't be on the same level as them by getting the same men as, or getting the same women as them. Vice versa, if he sees that you have very high standards, and as soon as you identify a man as a bum, he doesn't even get to touch you. This is the other important part. I said earlier, I know some of you have made the mistake of dealing with the bum, but this is the most important part of dealing with bums. When you identify they're a bum, or the relationship is over or has run its course, you make sure that those type of men do not get to access you in any capacity whatsoever. Because we want to make sure that when your next man meets you that actually lives up to your standards and expectations, that he isn't discombobulated by the fact that your ex, who's a bum, can still actually message you and call you, right? If you're presenting yourself as someone who doesn't deal with bums, none of these bum exes that you're thinking of, or men that you dealt with in the past that are bums, should have any access to you. You might as well block them on every form of social media known to man. Block their number, block their friend's number if you need to, block their Facebook, block everything, block their LinkedIn. So that when you come to this date, and eventually when he starts seeing how, you approach dating and things like that, and you start eventually describing your previous relationships, because at some point it's going to come up, you can make sure to describe it as, oh, no. Bum men, they can't touch me. Not a chance. No. Yeah, even my ex, no, I don't care. We were together for a couple of years. Yep, he didn't show up hot. Nope, no. He can't text me. He can't call me. I don't care if he's dying, nothing. But that's good. I know it will make you feel mean, but that's good, right? Because when you set that boundary like that, you're setting a separation between you and bum men, right? When you set that separation emotionally between you and bum men, right? He starts to feel like, oh, okay, we on the same level. I'm dealing with a woman who doesn't deal with low value men. So that must mean inherently I'm a high value man. You're also doing something for his ego at that point by actually being with him, knowing that you don't mess with bums, because you're showing him that, hey, none of these bums get access to me. So if you're getting access to me, that must mean you're one of the tippity top men. You're not actually going to say that. But when you do that, and that does something for his ego, now he feels like, okay, I should be with a woman like this, a woman that has standards, because none of these bum men can even be with her. And yes, it's a little bit of a ego thing with men, right? And the way that they want to look down on other men beneath them. But at the end of the day, it works for you, and it'll work for you to get the treatment that you want. Please don't make the mistake of, having and allowing bum men from your past to be able to access you in any capacity. Okay? It will only do you harm, and it'll only make guys feel like they need to mistreat you in order to even the scales. Okay? Please don't do that. All right? Do you guys have any questions about we discussed 8, right? I told you we was going through the complete cycle. Okay? Yeah, you guys have any questions about the 8 that we just discussed here today? I know we probably have some questions because there was a whole 8 here. All right? Okay, yeah. Any of the 8 that we just discussed. Rom Rexter says, what if you haven't been in a relationship? What do you say when he asks you about your past? That's a great question, Rom Rexter, okay? First of all, at the beginning of your dating stage, I would advise you to not be so dumpy. What I mean by dumpy is don't be dumping so much about yourself. Let it be you asking him questions. But even if that question comes up, you just say, instead of saying, oh, I haven't been in a relationship, I'm super naive and super inexperienced, say, I haven't found anyone that I actually felt a connection deep enough with that I wanted to actually be in a serious relationship with them. Right? I haven't found that person that actually fits my criteria and what I'm looking for, or whatever the case may be, right? Say it more like a choice than something where it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't know about relationships, so I can easily be tricked, right? It's a better way. The presentation is always very important, the way that you frame things. Okay. LP Baby says, yes, Tommy, why do bums want to remain friends, trying to sabotage how real men see me? Bums will always, understand this, chat, class, bums will always want to remain friends with you. It's perfect for them. Why would a bum man, right, who's dealing with you and getting access to you, why would he ever want to let that go? I tell you guys all the time, men are opportunists. So when they see an opportunity in a woman who doesn't understand her own value and she'll give it away for nothing, why would he let that go? Of course he's going to want to stay friends. Of course he's going to want to keep hanging out. Of course he's going to want to keep jackrabbiting himself inside of you, right? It's beneficial for him and the opportunity that you're affording him. Okay. By the way, for those of you who have a question for me, whether it relates to this show or not, or even if it's very comprehensive, very detailed, and you want me to give you advice on the situation or perspective, you can also go to the link in my bio on TikTok, or if you're watching this on YouTube, go to my description on YouTube, click where it says private relationship advice, and you can type up your question there, send it into me, and I'll give you a personalized voice message giving you advice on your situation or giving you perspective if you need that as well. And you can ask that way in order to make sure you get guarantee you get your question answered. Okay. Nubian Soul Child says, what do you think of pet names like Bay, especially early in the talking stages? I blocked the guy because he called me that and we barely spoke. I don't mind pet names. It's not really a big deal. It's just a name. Now, obviously, there's a difference between a pet name and then the guy saying that he loves you. But pet names aren't really that big of a deal to me. But if they're a big deal to you, then find someone who is aligned with you on that. I don't think that it means anything in particular. It's just a name. But if it bothers you that much, then that's perfectly fine. That's a preference of yours. So understand that what you're discussing and asking about is a preference. So if you see it a particular way, I would advise you to find someone who sees it your same way. You get what I'm saying? All right. Mila says, is it better to have no men at all in my life than having bums for attention? The ego boost from bums is not worth it. Oh yeah, you were saying is better. It is better. It is better. It is better to have no men rather than having bums. And I know, see, here's the thing. I know we're all human beings. So I know that getting that attention, even though it's from low quality men, does feel good for the ego a little bit. And it does feel good to be like, damn, these men, you really want me or whatever. They're giving me attention. I know it feels good. I'm a human being. I understand. But what I want you to do is refrain from giving in to that temptation, because I promise you, when you meet men and they start to, because the truth comes out one way or another. So when you're allowing bums to access you, it's going to come out one way or another when you start dating men. And all the stuff you were talking about, I have class, I'm this, my standards that, when they notice that you're dealing with bums, none of that's going to be in alignment. So you want to make sure that everything you say about yourself, or, you know, it's even better to show him, he actually sees concrete evidence of that, right? The woman with class The woman who's different than all the other women doesn't give in to that temptation of dealing with the average men who are only asking for things like, hey, come over and watch Squid Game. Okay? I know it's difficult to say no, especially when men aren't showing up for you how you want them to show up for you. And it's easy to give in to the low quality attention, but I promise you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, especially for when you finally meet the man that you are ready to be with and you have all of these other connections with men who aren't even what you want, okay? Nubian says, to add clarity to my pet name question, he was inconsistent 3 times. Well, then that's a whole different issue, right? If you're talking about inconsistency versus just the pet name, then that's different. I would obviously advise you to not be with a guy who's inconsistent with you. But the pet names is your own personal preference. Does that make sense? Right? Let me scroll up here because I seen some. Someone said we should create a group chat at this point. I will miss the chat when I leave. Ginger, thank you for saying that, because I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier. We do have a Discord, Ginger, and anyone else who is wondering how they can be more a part of our community. Our Discord is available to those of you who are watching on TikTok. You go to my link in my bio, and then when you scroll and you see Players Club Discord, join that. We have like almost 2,000 people in that community, and you can join that, chit chat with us, ask questions, which we're going to get to our Discord questions at the end of the show. And it's a very good place to like be a part of that community there. So if you guys want to join the Discord, you can. If you're watching on YouTube, it's down below as well. Okay. All right, chat, let's hop into our next segment of the show. Our next segment is not yet Discord time. It is our React segment where I react to TikTok videos that you guys have sent to me about love, life, and relationships. And sometimes you guys send me videos about foolishness, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, now I'm gonna clean up and prepare for our React segment. Spam up your headphone emojis, spam up your camcorder emojis. And while I get ready for that, we're gonna watch an intermission video, which comes from Simone Square. Today's intermission video, she says 13 easy ways to look instantly more attractive. I'm gonna play this video a little bit for you guys, and I'll be back and join you guys in just a moment. Simone Square, please take it away for all these beautiful people.
Wear clothes that suit your body and also accessorize. Even like little bits of jewelry, it's just gonna make you look so much better.
I got racks to the ATM jam. Tell me what you wanna do. I got racks to the ATM jam. Tell me what you wanna do. You a badass bitch. That don't get swallowed in that fat ass bitch. I got racks to the ATM jam. Tell me what you wanna do. I got racks to the ATM jam. Tell me.
It doesn't take a lot to just look put together. Just get a couple of nice dresses. Guys, you know this dress? I got it for $65 at Princess Polly last year. I hemmed it, so it's like a midi dress. I wear this at the airport. I wear it when I don't know what to wear. And I will tell you, this dress, when I wear this dress, this is when I get approached the most. Also, because, okay, another point, I strut. I'm always like, when I walk. You know, confidence is everything, because when I don't feel confident, even though arguably society would call me pretty, I don't feel pretty a lot of the time, simply because what people have told me, it gives me some element of confidence that I can like walk with my shoulders back and be like, oh, okay, I'm good looking. But I'll tell you, when I'm really depressed and I don't feel beautiful, aka the past 2 months for me, my energy shifts. I get approached less, even if I'm wearing the same thing. And it's because, okay, if you see me walking, my head's low, another point, don't walk with your head low, signifies no confidence. When I'm walking with my head low, is that as confident as someone you see a girl? Hello, didn't see you there. It's like an energy. When Marilyn Monroe said, do you want to see me turn into Marilyn? And she just shifted her energy. There is an unspeakable force. There is a force around us, an aura. Recently I kept saying to myself, oh my god, I wish I was more beautiful. I used to be more beautiful, and like criticizing how I looked, and I was like, I need to get a fucking grip, because if I keep speaking about myself like this way, my energy is going to deplete. I'm going to lose my aura entirely. She's not coming back, and also it's going to start to show on my face, and the universe is going to give me exactly what I'm talking about to myself. So if I'm constantly like, oh god, I'm unattractive, or I'm not pretty anymore, it's going to happen. Going back to our tits, so I have staple jewelry that I always wear. I wear these are Swarovski, and I always have a ring on, or some rings, and then my watch. This is a vintage watch. Got her for $70. I don't want a Cartier, I don't want a Rolex. I don't even invest in a watch. This is This is like the only watch I want to wear for the rest of my life. I'm really into staple pieces. I've worn this since I was 12, and people can identify me by this now. When people have something signature about them, whether it's a style, earrings, perfume, it makes them more attractive, because it's like, whoa, like I associate you with that thing, and that thing's like really cool if it has a positive connotation. Another thing I want to bring up to you, this is a nice top, yeah, but do you notice something? What about this top makes me look less put together? The fact that it's got wrinkles. Yo, don't wear wrinkly clothes. Signature lip color. I have a signature color. It is the Clinique Berry one. Signature perfume. You know, I simply have a signature perfume because I get overwhelmed. I don't like to have many things, which is why I wear the same jewelry. I often don't change. I don't change my necklace. In fact, when people want to gift me jewelry, I'm like, don't give me a necklace because I'm not going to wear it. I will wear this one over and over again. We're in my bathroom now. I should add a tip of being good lighting, but unfortunately we can't control that. My next tip, if you have yellow teeth, it signals, again, you don't take care of yourself. How do I keep my teeth looking really white? I use the Colgate toothpaste, #1, and every like 5 months I do teeth whitening strips. So I really like these. They are the Oral-B 3D White Lux Strip. Additionally, hair care. I'm in Dubai, so I really struggle with my hair because the weather here, the humidity, the fact that we have bad water. Guys, I have a full hair care routine that's live on Triple S. You can go check that out. But I'm gonna give you one tip right now.
Thank
Moroccan
you
oil. This is my favorite oil.
so much, Miss Simone Squared. You are a great, amazing content creator. One day we'll have you on the show. Let's hop into our first video here for our React segment.
Hey, you know what I never understood? When people go leave a relationship to be with a side piece, you know that never works out. You only go over there to be with a side piece or somebody that you actually interested on your relationship, and go over there and figure out, hey, the grass ain't green on the other side in so many ways. You go over there and mess up your whole relationship for a person that you think because he inspired you or she made you feel good because your significant other is in some emotional state right now and they not making you feel the same way when you first began dating them. So now that person at work or that co-worker or somebody like that that's at the grocery store you didn't met, anybody you didn't met out here in the world outside your significant other, they making you feel good about yourself. They make you feel so good about yourself. Now you want to leave your relationship and then get over there and figure out, hey, this ain't that. Now you got their full attention and you figuring out they got drinking problems, they got addictions, they abusive, they all type of stuff when it come down to dealing with them now, because you didn't see all those red flags when you was just sneaking in and out with them because you was enjoying the sneaky moments with them. But now that you got their full attention and see they ain't the person that you want to be with, now the time you figure out they ain't the person you want to be with, now you want to run back to your significant other and it be too late. I don't know why y'all go do that. Stop doing that and figure out how to fix the relationship before you go out here and try to deal with somebody else.
I would also say one of the important parts of dating is figuring out what your preferences are, what is important to you. That way, when you find someone, you're not thinking to yourself, oh, but I need this, but I need that, but I need this, and what I need that. And also part of dating and maturing is realizing you're never going to find, it's not that you're not going to find someone that doesn't, that you don't like or something like that, but you're not going to find someone that is absolutely perfect for you in every single way that you could never ask for anything else, because human beings are flawed. It's just the reality of life. So going into your relationships with an understanding, I'm going to meet a flawed human being that's real and three-dimensional. However, even though I'm going to meet a flawed human being, I can still make sure that in the places that are most important to me, that we are aligned. There's nothing wrong with dating with some realism, but also with an understanding of like, okay, but I'm looking for these specific things to be where I need them to be. Other things, yes, I would like them to not be on any sort of extreme, but I can compromise and work with those things. As you grow older and mature, you'll begin to be more deeper in your understanding of what those things are. But thinking about that is also very important. That way you don't go out on dates and you're just like, I don't even know if this is working for me or not. Does he like me? And that's the only thing you're thinking about.
You're not full.
I am 32 and single, and without fail, anytime I do any kind of Q&A or ask me anything, I get the same top 2 questions. Do I want to get married? and do I want to have children? And so I thought it might be worthwhile to bring that conversation here. The short answer is yes. I do want to get married and I do want to have kids. The long answer is yes, but not at any cost. See, the thing is, I was always the girl. I thought that I was going to get married and have kids super young. In my 20s, I was always in relationships, and I can't tell you how many times I was a nanny or a babysitter or a dance teacher, really anything that involved children. But at the same time, the guys that I chose in my 20s, they were not husband material, let's put it that way. I also grew up with a mother, an amazing mother, who was unfortunately taught that her sole value in life was to be a wife and a mom. And let me just be really clear, if you derive the most amount of value in your life from being a wife and a mom, I am not knocking that. I just grew up watching a woman who is beautiful and smart and capable and creative, and who I suspect would have been much happier if her whole world was not just being a mom. And so all of these things that I saw and or experienced really impacted me. And so when I say yes, but not at any cost, it is because I feel like I've looked around at my life and the lives of the women close to me, and I started to figure out what that cost is. And as far as I can tell, the cost is a woman's whole life. I'm really not even trying to be dramatic. To join your life with a man, which is what I would do since I'm unfortunately straight, to join your life with a man and bring a child into the world, it puts your health and your happiness and your fulfillment in a vulnerable position. And so if I'm gonna do that, if I'm going to risk my health and my happiness, I am going to do it with the Rolls Royce of partners. If I were to get pregnant while single, that's just a whole other conversation. I think that single moms are legitimately superheroes. But if I am teaming up with a man, first of all, I always think if my child were to turn out like that man, no changes, no edits, would I be proud? Then I have to think about communication. What are his conflict resolution skills? Assessing a man's character is also a really big thing for me. Things like loyalty or sexual discipline, being a man of your word. Do you respect me? And women in general. And I mean when I'm in the room, when I'm not in the room, and when there are no women in that room at all. Because I find that most men are actually boys when they think no one is watching. And then here's the real kicker, and this one's tough. Why do you want to have kids? Because if your answer is to create a little mini-me or carry on the family name and legacy, ding, 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 that's a bell. My child will be taught that they can be whoever they want to be, as long as they are kind and honest and do good unto others. That's pretty much it. And I'm not gonna.
So I like what she's saying here, because she's referring to the fact that when she has a desire, and her desire is to eventually like have children and all that good stuff and get married, but she also understands that there are conditions for how she's going to do that. And she also is thinking or has thought about what her preferences is and her desire for the type of relationship that she's going to be in will look like, which is exactly what I want you to be able to answer for yourself as well, right? Your answers don't even need to be the same as hers, but you should have thought this deeply about what you want your relationship to look like. Now, it's not about getting that answer and then saying to yourself, okay, well, now that I've gotten that answer and I go out on a date with the guy, I'm going to list out to him all of my criteria that he has to meet if he's going to be with me. You got to do this. Okay, I got this one here, point number 67, point A. Don't do that, okay? Because your job in understanding what your needs are and your preferences are is not to meet people and then try and conform them to what it is that you need, how you want to approach a relationship, and what your kind of expectations of what a relationship is supposed to be. Your job is to go out into your dates, have all of that information in your head, and then allow that man to show you if he's on the same page with you. When you ask him questions, you gauge his answers, and you honestly say to yourself, okay, he's aligned with me. I feel the same way as him. Or the answer, when he answers your questions, you say, ooh, you're very not aligned with me in the way that I see things. You see them a completely different way. What you want out of this is completely different. I'll give you an example of something that she mentioned here, right? She talked about, I think that being a mother is, I think that my version of being a mother and a wife is not just about my own value solely coming from being a mother. It's also about having things for myself, even while being a mother. And I still want to have things that I identify as me outside of just being a mother. That is definitely a philosophical approach to life, relationships, marriage, and parenthood. So your partner that you meet when she goes out on a date, she should meet a man that when she asks him, what do you think about your marriage? What do you want it to look like as a dad? And what do you think a mother's role should be in her children's life and in her marriage and things like that? If that man is saying, oh, well, I expect that the mom will dedicate her entire life to working for the children and doing things for the children and then dedicate the rest of that time in life to me and just being about me, and it should all be about taking care of the children and taking care of me. Well, then now there's a misalignment between what she would expect as her approach to a marriage and a relationship and parenthood and what this guy is expecting. So then when she would observe that, it's just as simple as, okay, thank you for your answer. We are not on the same page. We're very misaligned here. But that's how you want to be going about your dating life, right? In understanding men better and seeing if they're aligned in you in the most important areas.
My favorite reply to a cheap, low-effort date is, I don't think we're compatible. See, even for me, that's too much. I think that's over-communicating. You can show you're not compatible by just blocking because, you're going to follow by a block anyway. So I get that you can do that, but I love to just block. And then Kate writes, upgrading. So an upgrade is when a man says to you, let's have coffee, and you say, I don't do coffee, I only do dinner. That's a counter offer or an upgrade. And it doesn't work, and I'll explain why. And so as Kate says, upgrading one date does nothing in the long run. He still has a cheap and lazy spirit. Exactly. Or he's already in a relationship. Because think about it, coffee's not romantic. If his wife's best friend sees him at a coffee date with you, he can walk it off. He can write it off as like, oh, it was just a work thing. She's just a friend. Whereas seeing a woman with her husband at a 2-hour dinner or getting the bill for that is like, So that's why cheaters like coffee dates so much and just cheap, no effort dates, because also they have to make you convenient for them. And then, tons of men can't afford to actually be dating. So this is...
Well, I think actually that's the main thing is that doing a coffee, if you're in a relationship or you're married, doing a coffee date, you can't, it's very difficult to have the finances to manage dating 2 girls, right? Even 1 girl for most men. So having all of that investment put into another girl doesn't make a lot of sense. At that point, just be single. They want the other girl because they want the other girl to be free of charge, like no investment.
This is a preview for the movie that is a relationship. And even if a man does take you to dinner on the first date, a lot of men will front load. So take you on a really nice first date or second date, and then they start getting cheap. Like they don't see the value in providing in dating. I'm just preparing you for that.
My advice is if a guy asks you out on a coffee date, just say no thanks. Like, just leave it at that. I know it might make you feel mean or a B-wordy, but just say no thanks, right? It's a nice feminine way. You declined, okay? It's not that you're ignoring him. If he can come up with a better idea, maybe you'll consider. You're not going to say that, but if he can come up with a better idea, maybe he'll consider. But if not, no thanks. I'm just not looking to go on a coffee date. And if he asks you why, just say, not my vibe. Right? And you don't got to over-explain to men, okay? If that's not your vibe, you don't want to go on a coffee date, and he's going to throw a fit, he's mad, you don't like coffee date, you're too good for a coffee date. Just whatever. Move on. Don't respond. It's okay.
Ladies, if you want to be pursued properly, is what I call it, there's a big difference between you driving the car saying, get in, or you giving him the keys, saying, I look forward to where you take me. Those are two different replies. See, when a question like this, when he says, what are you doing this weekend? The way to give him the keys is to let him know, well, depends on where you take me. That's really what it depends on. That gives him the keys to the car, to the Kia. Give him the keys to the Kia, because that's all you got right now. Don't play like you got something better. You don't. So give him the keys to the Kia. See, this is the language that makes him want to initiate, makes him want to do it if he likes you. If he likes you, he's going to want to do that. Yeah, what you up to? Well, I look forward to you taking me out. That's it. Give him the keys. You give him the keys to the car so he can drive the car, as opposed to you saying, get in, let's go, and then complain about why it goes so bad because you never knew how interested this motherfucker was in the first place. You just want to take control all the time. Alleviate a little bit control. okay? I know it boggles you, but give it up a little bit.
Okay, I don't mind his advice here, but the reason that it worries me is because I know some of you will take that advice and you'll use it on a man who doesn't actually have a real interest in you. That's why I like to, this advice is good, but I also like to spend time trying to teach you all how to pinpoint where a man's level of interest is, because depending on where it is where those things could apply. Okay. So that type of thing can apply to a man who's already shown you interest in dating you. And that's not even something that I would necessarily say you text back and forth, because I know a lot of you love texting. That's something you can kind of play with if you guys are in person as a little bit of a joke, right? But I wouldn't advise you to be actually texting men that whenever they're asking you what you're doing, because the honest reality is some of those men that are asking you what you're doing, they're just asking you that because they want to know if you have time to come over to their place that they can sleep with you. So when you say it depends where you take me, they're laughing at you when you say that, because they're like, does this girl actually think I'm taking her serious? Right? Vice versa. If you're doing that in a playful way when you're chit-chatting with a man who's been taking you out on dates, then there's a little bit of a different dynamic there, where saying that is not necessarily weird or strange because he knows that he's been putting effort and investment into you. Okay? So my advice is don't use that unless a man has already been taking you out for multiple dates. Then it's a funny little joke, ha, 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 ha. But if the guy ain't really taking you out or done nothing serious for you at all in the first place, don't be using that to think that that's going to inspire him to do anything, okay? Notice that he also said it here in his video, if he likes you. So him showing you that he likes you would have meant that at that point he has already done some things for you. Then you can be a little bit fun with it, have a little bit of playful back and forth.
You know where we haven't been in a long time? The Electric Owl.
I've never been to the Electric Owl.
What was that? That's so loud. Hold on. What the hell? That was so loud. What is going on? Oh. Was that your other girlfriend?
Must have been your other girlfriend.
You know where we haven't been in a long time? The Electric Owl.
We talked about this on another episode of the Players Club, where we talked about what was the show that we were discussing, where we talked about it was signs that he's seeing other people. Truthfully and honestly, this can happen on accident, but also sometimes guys do make that mistake and slip up when they're dating multiple people at once, because it's very hard to remember after a while the things that you did with one girl versus another girl. So sometimes if you just start dating a guy and he's talking like this and you haven't been with him for a long period of time, it's usually a sign that he's been dating multiple people at the same time as dating you, okay? So that's one of those signs. All right, let's hop into our next segment, okay? For those of you who know what's coming up, you can spam it up in the Discord, okay? It's an amazing time that we're about to have. It's an awesome time that we're about to have. And it's a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. And don't look nowhere else in your entire home. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Discord time. Yeah, okay, chat. I know some of you are like, turn down your volume. That one was quiet for all of you. All right, let's hop into our Discord section of the show. For those of you who don't know how this works, I'll explain it to you right now. So Discord time is essentially where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or their situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, there are a couple of different ways in which you can submit your question, and I'll explain all of them to you right now. The first way is by submitting your question to our free relationship advice forum section here. This you can access by going to the link in my bio on TikTok if you're watching it there, or my description if you're watching us on YouTube. Now, when you get in there, all you got to do is drop in your question to the free relationship advice forum, and you see here, just format it the same way that everyone else has formatted it. But I will warn you, there's a queue because it's first come, first serve. So all of these highlighted questions I haven't yet gotten to. So to be honest with you, it's probably going to take me about 2 weeks to get to your question based on how many I still have here to do. So if you don't want to wait 2 weeks to get your question answered, that's perfectly fine. We also have another way for you to submit your question. This is for if you're impatient. This is called our premium relationship advice forum. Now, the way that this forum works is you get to skip the line and the queue of people who are in our free section and get your question answered sooner without having to wait all the time for me to get to yours finally. So the way that you get access to this is by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says premium Discord relationship advice, and you get to donate to the show. You put in the title of your username and the title of your question, and then in your donation, I get a notification on my phone that that's you and that's your question. And then when I see it here, I know that it's supposed to be here, and then you get to skip that line of people. Now, the third way to submit your question is for those of you who don't want your information to be read out on the show. You're a more private person, perfectly fine. This is our private relationship kind of like hotline and link. It's in our Discord here. It's also in the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. You click where it says private relationship advice, and then you can type out your question to me as long as you want, as much detail as you want, send it in to me, and I read it all, and I respond with a voice message, usually 8 to 10 minutes long. Sometimes it can be 20 minutes if your message is really long, because I get really detailed. And I'll send you back, obviously, a personalized message of advice or perspective on whatever it is you need as it relates to your relationship or your situationship, okay? So let's start off with our first question of the day, which is going to require me to scroll all the way down. All right. I definitely know the first one's got to be an LP baby one. Okay. Your opinion matters to me. Mr. Atobatele, very specific related brief questions here. If it's all right with you, I'd humbly suggest to relay the message of viewer and listener discretion advised, as the content is rather graphic. In your complete Pineapple Timeline episode, when we go clubbing with a guy, when can we go clubbing with a guy? Is this a trap? Because there's a lot of bumping, touching, grinding going on. Okay, so for this part here, my advice to you would be to, I personally think the first month, let's leave the first month to just you spending some one-on-one quality time with him. The reason I say that is, let's assume you go on 1 date per week in that first month and you only get 2 hours each date. The reason I say that is because those club dates, same thing with the movie date or whatever, dates like that, they're what I call passive experiences, meaning you're there and you're watching something else, right? So you're watching a screen, you're going to the club, there's loud music, a lot of other stimulus going on. You're not really walking away from the date with information. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because when you go out on a date, you're not just going there to have a good time, you're going there to also understand this guy better. Okay. And when I say understand this guy better, you want to make sure that you're walking away from this situation with a better understanding of what he is like and what his vibe is. Someone said wrong question. Did I already do this one? Okay. Did I already do this one? Tell me in the chat. Did I already do this one? Oh, but I didn't do this one, right? It's okay. It's okay. Well, I'll just come back to the other one. Okay. But yeah, I would advise wait till the first month, I should say, before you end up going out to a club with a guy, because I think that that's a better way to go about things, because I want you to learn him a little bit first before you go on to this kind of experience. Because yes, there's bumping, there's grinding, but there's also a lot of distraction, and you won't walk away from the date with more understanding of him. In my specific case, I like bachata, social dancing, as a hobby and a way to meet people, but it's very sensual. And tips on how to navigate this. This is so nuanced. I realize this, but I like to dance and believe it's not I believe it or not, and I'm very introverted, socially awkward, and institutionalized. I spend most of my time and most of my life in the library, school, being a book STEM nerd. So while I am Latina and bachata/salsa dancing should be fun, like clubbing, the experiences I've had have contributed to me being quirky, to put it nicely. Okay. And I want to avoid any pineapple traps because I'm trying to be good. When can we dry hump/tease with a guy's clothes? When can we dry hump/tease without clothes? When can we take off our clothes off without pineapples? It wasn't clear to me. When can we get STD tests and results, and when should they be brought up? Okay, so I'll answer all of these in a batch because I believe in my, don't quote me, but I believe in the month period, if you go back to that specific video, when I was talking about doing oral and being able to use your hands and feet and mouth for things, that would be the same time that I advised you to do this. So I believe that was in month number, oh boy, I think I said 3 to 4 in that specific period. Don't quote me though. I want to make sure that I'm saying this the right way for the specific timeline because I made sure it was very comprehensive. But in that same place where I said you're allowed to use your hands, feet, and mouth, that's the time where I would say you're allowed to do dry humping and all that other stuff. Simply because I know that at that point, it's very easy to fall into the trap of going too far. So I don't want to say, okay, do dry hump in the first 2 months because then the dry hump will make it easier to do the oral and then the oral will make it easier to sleep with him. Then now we just have so much temptation going on all throughout the dating stage that it'll be very difficult for you to actually just keep these at bay. The reason I kind of left off anything that could be in Temptation Alley till like month 3, 4 was because I knew that at that point, some of you will go too far, but at least in the previous months, you will have spent a lot of time gathering information and learning about him, that even if you make the mistake of going too far there, at least you have more of an understanding of him than doing it on the very first night, okay? Someone said, what's dry hump? You can't tell me you don't know what a dry hump is. Everyone's from a different culture. Let me explain. A dry hump, for those of you who don't know, is just humping someone with your clothes on. So that's why they say it's dry. There's no lubrication. Think about where there would be lubrication if someone was humping you. You get my point, all right? So I hope that makes sense to you. Now, let's hop into our next question here. I know that that one was a skip, but let me make sure that I'm going in. There's such a different order here. Okay, so let me mark this because that one was done. Mark that. Mark is red. Sorry, chat, I just want to make sure I'm in the right order. Yes, Mark, this one is... Oh, was this one needed to be done? No, I did this one. Okay, I think I did that one. I think so. Anyways, let's go up here. And did we do Ariana's? Did we do Ariana's? Yeah, we did Ariana's. Okay. All right. Mark that one off. Okay, we have Erica to do. I was exclusive with a man who I recently found out had a child. Okay. I'm 29, and a couple of months ago, I started seeing a 29-year-old man. We started dating, and I asked him whether he was single, with no strings attached, like somehow married or had children, and he said no. So you're basically saying you covered all of the bases to make sure there's absolutely no confusion whatsoever, and he said no. We started dating on a weekly basis, meeting up once a week over dates, and we thoroughly enjoyed each other's company. We went exclusive with the vision that we both wanted more. Recently, I gave myself to him through physical intimacy. We both have such a desire to be with each other. The topic of meeting each other's friends and family recently came up as well. See, this is why, and we talked about it in LP Baby's question that she just asked. This is why in my SEX timeline, I actually specifically say to meet friends and family before you do any sleeping with him, because I know that that will reveal a lot to you. And you'll get a confirmation on a lot of the things that he's been telling you about himself, because guys are good at making up stories that sound good. But his response made me doubt his genuine intentions when I felt as if he was unenthused about the idea because he knows you're going to find a lot of truth when you meet them. I felt as if we were pacing quite quickly, and he agreed. So I didn't think much at the time until I brought up my concerns of not really having clarity on where the relationship was going. So I like this question because this is a good way to understand if you want to ask, where are we now? The better question to ask is, hey, I would love to meet your friends and meet, some of your family. If you ask that question and a guy gets uncomfortable or he ignores it or is like, nah, that's not the right time, it's too soon for that, then you should know that tells you exactly what you need to know about where this relationship is in his mind. If he hears that question and he gets uncomfortable or he's like, oh, it's too soon for you to meet my family and da, then you definitely close up your legs, make sure you tighten up your belt, make sure your jeans are as tight as they possibly can with no room to breathe, because you ain't going to be taking off nothing for no reason if he's feeling uncomfortable about you meeting friends and family, okay? It took a while to get the real reason. I had to keep guessing as to what it was, as he couldn't even be a man to tell the truth. He has a child or children. I didn't even bother clarifying. So wait, how did you find that out though? I'm extremely hurt. I gave myself to someone who I thought was genuine, but our connection was built on a foundation of lies and deceit. He said he loves me and that he was genuinely envisioning a future for both of us, but at this point, I've detached. I still love him, but I love myself more to allow myself to yet be fumbled by the same person who came into my life with impure intentions. How do I really cope with this? Because this is the first time I've ever been through this. This sucks like hell. It hurts to feel betrayed in this way. I thought I fumbled by having pineapples too soon, and I even talked to him about it. And I know he felt as strongly as me, and we were falling in love with each other. So the fact that he lied to me, it really hurts. Okay? So, Erica, I understand what you're going through, and I understand that this is very painful. Now, we want to make sure, though, that we're able to channel this energy in the place that is the most beneficial to you. So first things first, acknowledging that it happens is super important. So you did that in your message. It's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes in terms of choosing partner, but let this be a lesson to you that you realize the importance of getting clarity before you jump into anything like sleeping with a man. And I think that this, as weird as this might sound, this is a good character building moment for you to understand how important it is to go about a particular order of operations when you're in a relationship. So sometimes part of being able to work yourself through it is understanding how the experience can actually benefit you for the future. Because the reality of it is, a man who was even willing to lie to you about, having a child was not the right guy that you were looking for in the first place. Do you understand what I mean? So whether or not you took some time to sleep with him or you slept with him on the very first night, the fact that he was willing to lie to you about something like that means he wasn't, like you mentioned, coming into your life with the right intentions, which means he wasn't even someone that you would want to end up in a relationship with anyways. So the fact that you at least ended up finding out and could at least end up detaching yourself is a good thing. And the even better part is you were able to walk away from that scot-free. He's not your baby daddy or anything. So now you can actually move forward with your life. And now you get this experience to be able to teach you that in the future, whenever you're thinking to yourself, oh, I really like him, the vibes are there, vibes, and then you're thinking, let's just jump into it and do stuff. Now you can be more relaxed in your state and say, you know what? I like how things are going. I like the vibe so far. I'm feeling the connection. However, I'm not going to make the same mistake as last time and make decisions simply based on the vibes. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see how things play out. I'm going to get more information, i.e. meeting some friends at the very least, meeting some family, talking to them as well, making sure I can confirm all the things that he told me from a third party, not just from him directly. And then once I get that amount of clarity, I can ensure that the guy that I actually met and the way he presented himself is very, very close to the guy he actually is around his friends and the guy he actually is around his family. And until I get that confirmation, I won't be jumping into anything because I saw how that worked out last time. So in order to get through this, I'm not saying it's going to make it easier for you magically, but changing the way you view it and changing the way you take this experience for the betterment of your life versus just sulking over it will drastically make it easier to work through it on a day-to-day basis. Every time you think about it and think about how sad it is, you remind yourself that you weren't even supposed to be with someone like that anyways. So the lesson you're taking from that is something that will allow you in the future to, first of all, not make the same mistake, but also be better equipped to build a relationship with the person you're actually looking for. Okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Let me make sure I'm in the right place. Okay, we just did Erica. We'll mark this one, LB baby question. Now we have Just Jess. Did we do a Just Jess? I thought we did a Just Jess. Maybe this is a new question from Just Jess. Okay, she says, short term versus long term. Hi T, I find your videos very entertaining and I agree with a lot of your advice. Sometimes I'm curious how much of this we do have to keep up with when the relationship becomes long term. I understand not matching his energy, keeping texting to a minimum, etc. in the beginning, since we want to see men's effort and let him keep pursuing. But does this continue in the long-term relationships and marriages? Or is there a point where we can start matching his energy or encouraging him to send good morning texts, etc., while still being in our femininity? Or would we be doing this would doing this automatically put us in a more masculine energy? Let me answer this first part of your question here. My advice here is that, yes, when obviously you become his girlfriend and obviously you guys become married, inherently, the terminology happy wife, happy life applies to you now because he's actually claiming you, saying that he wants to be with you and committing himself to you. So inherently, your happiness is his happiness. He wants to make you happy. So when you express things that you would like to happen or express things that maybe bother you or maybe you would like for him to work on, he will actually have a desire to work on those things because he wants to make you happy and he wants to make an adjustment, right? So those little things that you're talking about that maybe, oh, I would love for you to text me more or sometimes it makes me feel like you're not really caring or paying attention because you don't text me or whatever the case may be. These are things, obviously, when a guy is showing you that he's invested in you, yes, communicating them is perfectly fine because then he'll have a desire and he'll have shown you to have a desire to want to actually do things for you and make you happy. The reason that I say don't address those things at the beginning is because I know that at the beginning, you can't really even ensure that a guy is invested in your happiness. So when you're begging for certain things and asking him to do this and asking him to do that, a lot of guys don't even have a desire to make an adjustment because they don't even want to be with you. They just want to extract from you. So there's no purpose to that. You're better off just seeing what he would actually rather do. Also, I know you mentioned that we can buy a man a small gift in the beginning. Oh, by the way, when we're talking about matching energy, of course, you can match your husband's energy. You can match your boyfriend's energy. Then you're putting in that investment to someone who's been investing in you. And you know it's a safe place to invest in someone because you know he's not just going to turn around and use you or discard of you, right? I know you mentioned that we can buy a man a small gift in the beginning after a few dates to show our interest and appreciation without sleeping with him. Yes, a small gift, something that could be sentimental if it applies to him in this specific situation. Now, I also want to mention and preface by saying, don't be looking to get a man a gift who really hasn't done anything for you. So assuming that the dates he's actually seemed to like put his best foot forward, then sure, if it's appropriate, get him a gift. But also, I just don't think it's necessary to really get him gifts after a couple of dates, unless maybe those couple of dates ends up being one of them is like his birthday or something after a couple of dates. But I don't think you should be looking to get him a gift simply because it's been a couple of dates. I don't think that's a little bit weird. I know the point is to keep his anxiety and him pursuing high before ever sleeping with them. Does it still work or apply to girls waiting for marriage? Is there a way to show interest and appreciation if you aren't going to sleep with him until you're married? Yes, I actually have a whole show on how to keep guys interested without pineapples, without SEX. So search that show up on my YouTube channel because I literally laid that exactly out. I answered that exact question. Also, is there a certain amount of dates that you as a girlfriend should/are expected to start paying for stuff? Me personally, My answer is no. There is no expectation of amount of dates before you start paying for stuff. Ideally, I would love to never pay for anything the whole relationship, haha. At least not until we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend. But should we ever pay for dates, activities, etc. at a certain point, or would this put us in a masculine energy? So what I'll say to that is, if you've been, let's say hypothetically, you've been dating a man for, 4 to 5 months, right? And on these dates, you've done plenty of different things. You've met some family members, you've met some friends. Then I can say you can relax a little bit. And yes, 1 or 2 times you can offer to pay. So let's keep this threshold for you all so that you guys are not confused. If you meet his friends and you've met some family member, doesn't have to be his mother or father. You've met some sort of family member, whether it be a brother or sister, something like that, someone who has real blood relation to him. And you've been able to confirm that who he said he is, he actually is, and other people know about you aside from just him and you. Then we can get into the place where, yes, 1 or 2 dates, yes, you can offer to pay. And if he says no, then whatever, you don't have to enforce, right? But before that, no, I don't think there's any reason to, because we have not yet confirmed if he is who he says he is. And I don't want you to come across the wrong way by seeming like you're overly eager to invest in him when he might not even be telling you the truth about who he is. Okay. Not saying there's anything wrong with paying. And I'm not saying that you have to have some sort of arrogant, stuck up, oh, I don't go out on a date unless you pay for everything and do everything, right? This is the other thing as well that is very, very important, whether you're sleeping with a man before marriage or not. Make sure, and I've talked about this I did a show on understanding men's needs and how to talk to men. Make sure that when you see him doing good work for you, you acknowledge the good work that he's doing. Even in something as simple as being consistent in the way he's asking you out on dates and planning and scheduling and following through. Take some time, and I've talked about this in a whole show when I talked about how to talk to men. Take time to set aside to actually address him one-on-one and say, I appreciate the way you've been consistent with me. I appreciate how you took me out here and did this and did that and went the extra mile. You came and you picked me up even though I live an hour away, or you did this or you did that, right? When you see those things, make sure that after a while you address them, and you address them specifically and your appreciation for them. You'll be surprised how far that can go for keeping a guy internally motivated to continue doing work for you. Okay? I'm not saying you got to pretend like he, gave you the world just by simply taking you out on that first date. But over time, as you see, especially as you see that consistency and you're seeing that effort, make sure you point that out, because that is such a boost for men emotionally to feel like their effort that they're putting forth is being seen and acknowledged. You might, as a woman, not understand how good it feels to feel like I'm doing a good job for my woman and I'm doing a good job in general, but it goes such a long way. And I promise you, if you can keep that rhythm going where he does work for you and you appreciate him for it, like really appreciate him for it, emphasize it and make him feel like you actually see him and acknowledge it, that will continue allowing him to continue having the motivation to do more work for you, because he knows that you're seeing it. He knows that you're appreciating it. And he knows that it's not like just a fart in the wind type of thing. Okay. And I promise you that will keep you going for a long period of time. And that can keep you going all the way up until marriage, whether you're sleeping with him before marriage or afterwards. Okay. Oh, you asked another question. You said, also, after how many dates should you let a guy pick you up / drop you off? I wouldn't want a guy to know where my apartment is on the first date for safety reasons, of course. So if he suggested picking me / dropping me off, I would politely decline until we know each other better. But when you are comfortable with him, how should you mention it / get him to bring it up again as something you would like? And if he never brought it up in the first place, how do you get him to do that as something you would like? Okay, this is a good question. So Jess, very first date, obviously, no. Okay, I don't advise you to have him pick you up on the first date just because we want to feel it out. We could be meeting anyone. Now, after that first date, you've only met him, so supposed to have only been seeing him and met him for 2 hours. I would say let's make it at least 3 dates, okay, where you guys meet up. And then after those 3 dates, or even let's just say a month, because if you're going on a date a week, right, it's going to be a month. After a month, you guys meeting up on your dates, now we can transition it to him picking you up, because I think that that buffer space is enough for you to feel out his vibe, feel out the type of person he is, and also get an understanding of like, are you going to be safe around him? If you haven't noticed anything weird in the way he talks or the way he goes about stuff in that time period, like let's say you've gone on 4 dates with him, 1 date per week, right? In that month, then him picking you up would be less of an issue, because at least you have gotten a little bit of a feeler out, all right? Now, as it relates to bringing it up, right, you can just mention the next time he asks you out, you can mention either not having a ride, or you can ask him a question, right? So because being suggestive is such a good way to go about this. So for example, a month has passed and now you guys are planning the next date. He's saying, we can go here to this sushi spot. And you say, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to go to the sushi spot. Do you want to pick me up, or do you want us to just meet there? And ask the question and let him answer what he would rather do. Obviously, if he likes you, he likes spending time with you, most men will say, I'll just pick you up. Right? Now, if he says, hey, we can just meet there, then let it be. Then the next time you can ask, what do you want to do? And you can just continue asking. Eventually he'll pick up on it and he'll pick you up one of these dates. And then that'll usually become the norm. But it's better to be suggestive and let him decide if he'd rather pick you up or he'd rather you guys just meet there. Obviously, if he likes you, most of the time, he's going to eventually just start picking you up, right? Being suggestive, though, is a way to do it in a feminine way where you bring it up and you let him choose, because clearly you're asking him because you're allowing him to make the choice, and then he can feel like the man and make the choice for what he wants to do, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Make sure I'm in the right place. Okay, so this question comes from Sis, all right? Let's open this one up here. We haven't seen one from her in a while. So Sis says, found out BF was a red flag before me. Should I be worried? I just found out that after he saw deleted I just found out that after he saw deleted messages on his ex's phone of her flirting with other guys and wanting to meet up with them, he stayed with her just for pineapples and got 25 side chicks that he would flirt with and kiss. He also told me he once had 6 girls walking with him who all knew about each other, and that all 25 girls knew they were side chicks and not to do anything in public. When he received a pic of his ex leaving the bar with a dude, he broke up with her for good, and she was doing everything to win him back, but he had checked out a long time ago. He told me he didn't tell me about him cheating because he knew I was high value and would not give him a chance because it's a red flag. He did the same with the girl before me, but he said he had 16 side girls. How do you even manage that? With that one, but also he never asked that girl to be his girlfriend. Well, so then what are we talking about then? That's not really, okay. I told him that it's fine if he isn't monogamous, but this isn't the relationship for me then. But he told me he was and will always be loyal to me because he loves me and he is monogamous, but he just did it for fun with them because he didn't care about them, nor did he see a future with them. Okay. I asked if he would follow back girls that followed him first during the talking stage with me out of habit, and he said yes, and that as soon as I called him out, he stopped and he unfollowed the girls too. This is true. He hasn't followed one girl since we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and he also unfollowed 300 girls, so his following is now 400 and mostly men. Okay, that's pretty good, okay? I don't follow a lot of people. I only follow like 300 people. And so that's not bad there. There shouldn't be a problem there. He said I was different and he has Arab sisters and would never hurt me. Okay. I'm also the first girl he's posted on social media, to the point where when he was posting me every day in Arizona, everyone was asking his friend if my boyfriend got married, and his friend told them yes, because my boyfriend actually sees me as his wife. I asked him what changed to make him loyal, because the girl who had 16 who he had 16 side chicks with, he dated her right before me. He said I changed him because he's never been in love with those ones, just me, and that I was a challenge. I wonder how. I wonder how you became a challenge. Because he never knew if I was interested in him, and that I took it took him a million strategies to pull me. So exactly what we talk about in the Players Club, how we want you to present yourself. I have his phone password, and there's 0 girls texting him anywhere. The ones that tried making a move on him, he showed me he left them on open and blocked them. Okay. And 0 girls on his Insta feed or TikTok feed, so I know he's loyal to me. But should I be more careful knowing his past? I would say something to think about, but I think that he honestly has gone the extra mile of making you aware that he's not trying to do that with you. So something to take note of is how open he is with you now. Because obviously he's more than willing to unfollow girls. He unfollowed a bunch. He's also more than willing to show you everything that's going on to make sure there's no confusion. So now that you've seen this to be his regular demeanor, if anything changes from that, or he starts getting weird down the line, or starts making excuses that he never used to make, now you know something has changed, right? Because if this has now become his normal behavior with you, anything outside of this means something is going on. So this is perfectly fine. This is actually great. But just make sure that this stays the same, and gauge if this changes at all. If he starts saying, "Oh, but you can't see this. Oh, I got this. You can't see my phone." That's very weird, because we now understand him to be like this, and this is what you should come to expect from him in the future. Now, one more question. Remember, he was friends with my ex. Well, I never liked my ex, but he followed me to the U.S. Wait, what? The only reason I stayed with him was because his mom would send vids of him trying to off himself. What? 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 His mom would send you videos of him trying to off himself? What? If I left him, and every time I'd block him, he would make fake accounts, email me, send videos of him crying, send his friends to text me, etc. I'm glad you're not in that relationship anymore, but people like that you need to run far away from, okay? I know you're talking about an ex, but people like that you run far away from, okay? Anyways, my ex was a huge liar, so I finally asked my boyfriend what my ex has said about me, and apparently my ex acted as if I was obsessed with him. I lost my stop. Obsessed with him when it was the other way around, and I was always trying to get away from him. I even got girls to text him so he could cheat and move on and leave me alone. Anyways, he followed me to the US. I agreed to be friends with him because we're both new here, but he was telling everyone that he can have me whenever he wants me, and no one can pull me because I'm obsessed with him. He's straight delusional, and no one believed him because he also lied about having pineapples with girls he never met. Sounds like such an amazing guy. He bragged about having nudes of me, but my boyfriend said he never showed anyone anything, so he could be lying. I told my boyfriend he could have underwear pics because I used his iCloud to download paid games for free, so he might have had my camera roll. But one thing I didn't tell my boyfriend was that I was 16 and dumb and did I think you meant to say send nudes on video calls with him sometimes. I think you meant to say show nudes on video calls with him sometimes. I just can't tell him the truth about that because I'm so ashamed and never even liked that dude, so it's embarrassing. I've also had pineapples with my ex, but it was like twice and barely. And only kissed one guy I dated for 7 months and my boyfriend. So I've kissed 3 dudes and had pineapples with 2, but I'm so embarrassed to have even dated my ex, and he's making it seem like I'm a bop. You're funny. He would even tell his friends I'm Lebanon and wait, what? So, he would even tell his friends in Lebanon that I gave him a BJ the first date when I didn't even kiss him until after 10 months. My ex is now engaged to a very strict girl who doesn't let him go out. Do you think he still has my pics? I doubt it. Like, after how many years will you keep the same phone? Doubtful. Also, do you think I should tell my boyfriend about the video calls? I don't think it's necessary. I'm too embarrassed. I can't tell him. Plus, he didn't seem to care about my past, but I don't know if it's fine that I didn't tell him. My boyfriend also told me that if my ex ever tries to say anything about me, he will deport him back because he is here illegally. Okay. I'm sure Donald Trump will take care of that. This is true because my ex told me this is when we were still friends. Told me this when we were still friends. Do you think it's fine I downplayed the things I've done with my ex to my BF a little? I just can't tell him the truth. I'm too embarrassed. Okay. Even pineapples because we were both inexperienced as F. So I told my boyfriend that we tried to have pineapples but didn't know how. Not gonna lie, I'm so embarrassed about my past. I was a kid and didn't know what I was doing. After my ex, I didn't have pineapples with anyone until my boyfriend now. Okay, so I don't advise you to lie about sleeping with a man just because it's not a good practice to do. It causes more harm than it does good to lie about stuff like that, especially if that was your once boyfriend. We're not all perfect human beings, and it's okay to like do something at a time where you were less experienced and understand now that you wouldn't make that same mistake. Okay. On top of the fact it was your boyfriend, it's not like you did that with a random guy who doesn't even know your first name, right? So it's fine. I would rather you be honest than lie and then he finds out you're lying. It just creates a very weird and strange vibe. Because why lie about that? It was your boyfriend. So that I think it's necessary to just be honest about. Now, as it relates to adding the extra sauce of, oh, I sent him the nudes and he did see me nude over video chat. It's also an assumption that if he was dating you, then yeah, he probably saw you nude in person too. So adding the extra story or evidence of like, yeah, you know, one time we did get on video chat and he did see me nude. It's like, it's not really necessary because it's very inconsequential. What I mean by that is him seeing you nude over video chat isn't different from him seeing you nude in person. And I'm sure as a grown adult man, he's making an assumption that if you dated a guy, he probably saw you nude. So there's not really any reason to be digging super deep in the weeds of like, did he see you nude over video chat and over pictures? Or did he only see, like, no guy is going to care that much about like very minute, inconsequential details. It just doesn't make a difference. He dated you, he probably saw you nude. And an assumption is that you guys probably slept together. For most mature adults, that would be a reasonable assumption. You don't really need to ask so many questions about that. I don't think it's necessary to go into super specific detail about that if he's not asking about that specifically. The other thing about your situation as it relates to, what did you say here? Talking about overall your past, like I said, be honest. About the sleeping with him part, but you don't have to add the sauce of everything else. It's already assumed here. Now, when you're referring to the situation with your ex, anytime you're describing it or the experience, it's very important to describe it that in hindsight, knowing what I know now, being the person that I am now, I would never allow these things to transpire, and I would never even date or even allow him to sniff my shoe. So I know this is going to sound weird. You don't have to diss the man himself, but make it clear that the person you are now, he cannot access you. You wouldn't even entertain talking to him. You wouldn't entertain sending him a text back. He couldn't come up to you, nothing, right? He has no access to you. That is the best way to present yourself because I promise you that will make him feel the most secure as a man because he's not he's less worried, I promise you, as a man, he's less worried about the idea of you ever doing stuff with him because he was once your boyfriend. He's more worried about the idea that he could still access you now. So addressing the fact that he could never in a million years dream of accessing you now is the most important thing to address with the guy that you're dating. Once you make that very clear, I promise you, he will feel much more secure. If you can even show him the ways you've blocked him on everything, show him the ways he can never even hit you up for any reason whatsoever, and things like that, that will be even better to kind of paint the picture of, oh, yeah, now we're talking about the current situation. He can't even access you. There's no reason for him to be super worried about that. A guy like this, in the way that you've described him, in all your other messages, he doesn't seem super duper insecure. So I just don't think it'll be an issue as long as you make it clear he can't access you no more, right? That'll do his ego what it needs to do for him as a man. All right. Okay, that's the show for today. For those of you who have questions for me, whether you want to ask it in the free section, the premium section, or the private section, you can ask all of your questions by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube and figure out which type of question you want to ask there. For those of you who are watching me on TikTok and you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is above my head on the top left corner of the screen. It's just Tomisin_Atub, TOMISIN_ATOB. And for those of you watching me on YouTube, it's down at the bottom in my description there. You can find the link to my Instagram. For those of you watching on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show from start to finish because you came late or you missed some parts, very comprehensive, detailed show today. You can always watch that on my YouTube channel, which is just my name above my head, TOMISIN. Type in my name on YouTube, go into the live section, and you'll be able to see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. You'll also have the YouTube chat and the TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you won't miss a second of conversation that we have on the show. For those of you who want to watch me again live, when I'm on the live stream, it'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm on here every weekday, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. EST. So I'm not going to be here tomorrow, but I will be posting on my YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed to me on YouTube in order to get access to that. And I will be here again on Monday live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, shout out to Lexi, who became a pro player in our YouTube chat and one of our amazing members. Also, shout out to any of you who donated as well in the TikTok chat. I can't see my TikTok donations here on my screen, but I do know a lot of you guys donate on there, so I appreciate you all, okay? Until we meet again tomorrow, I will bid you adieu. Not tomorrow. Until we meet again on Monday, I'll bid you adieu. Arrivederci, ciao, salam, baoni, hasta la vista, adios, sayonara, bon voyage, and I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll talk more about love, life, and relationships. Okay? Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And don't do anything that'll end you up in our Discord section. Okay? I'll see you later.